Okay, we will get started with our morning practice. It'll be just a little bit shorter today. So feeling free to, we're going to start out in just a comfortable seated position here. So if you want to cross your legs, maybe sit on your knees. If you want to have a block underneath your lower area, that can bring a little bit support. And you can do that by sitting on it, or you could even have your knees come out too. So just finding a way that you can just come into just a supported, restful position here. Feeling free to just allow the eyes to be open, maybe just finding what we call a drishti point, a point of concentration to just focus on, a point that isn't moving. Feeling free to close your eyes for a few moments here if that's resonating with you this morning. And wherever you're at, just starting to tap into your breath here. Just starting to come what we just call conscious breathing. That just means noticing the breath. So just noticing the inhale and the exhale as it comes in and comes out through your body this morning. And as you move through your breath this morning, taking this opportunity now to set an intention for your practice this morning. So our collective intention today is active listening. And you can feel free to maybe build off your own intention from the collective intention. So maybe a word, a phrase, a mantra just really resonates with you from the collective attention of active listening. If that is so, feeling free to invite in your own personal intention into this practice. And intentions are a great way to help us be focused in our practice. Oftentimes our mind likes to wander. And if that ever happens, you can just bring your intention, your word into your mind to allow you to come back to your breath. It's a really great focus point to come back into your body, to remind you of what you're hoping to kind of flow through in your practice today. And taking a few more just conscious breaths here. You can call them yogi breaths. Just becoming aware of the breath as it flows in and out. Maybe noticing even how your body's feeling as you breathe. Noticing if there's any areas that you can breathe into, maybe to just let go of some tension, some stress that you might be holding on to. The breath is one of the best tools we have to let go of stress in our body. And it just starts by becoming aware of just noticing where you might be holding that stress and tension. So you can just take a few moments here to just invite in some curiosity this morning. Just noticing. And you could even invite your intention in as you breathe into those areas that you're wanting to release and let go a little bit this morning. And next we'll move into our Om. So if you're not feeling called to Om this morning, know that you don't have to engage in it. You can just listen and really just take in the vibrations. When we Om, we're really connecting with the universe. It's just a beautiful mantra that just helps us, connect deeper to the universe. So if you're feeling called to invite into the collective Om today, we'll start by just taking a cleansing breath. So inhaling and exhaling. And then on our next inhale, we'll invite in the Om. So inhaling 3/4 lung capacity. Om. And just taking a moment to just allow those vibrations to just settle into your body. Next, we'll move into 2 of our pranayama exercises for today. So the first one that we'll start with is called 3-part breath. If you would like to open your eyes for this, you can. But if you also just want your body to guide you through this, you can keep your eyes closed too. So wherever you're at this morning. With 3-part breath, we start by breathing in our belly area. So sometimes it's nice to bring a hand onto that belly area, maybe a hand onto the heart area. Just kind of helps us to notice the breath as it rises. And so we'll be inviting the breath all the way down into the belly area, moving up into our middle area, our chest area, and then moving up through our shoulders, all the way back down through chest, ribs, back down to belly. So taking a cleansing breath here, inhaling and exhaling. Next, we'll move into our 3-part breath. So inhaling, beginning at the belly area, moving up through your ribs, arriving up through the chest, the shoulders, exhaling, shoulders, chest, ribs, belly. And just allowing your body to take you at your own speed this morning. The key here is just that 3-part breath. So the 3 parts as you breathe into the belly, the ribs, the chest, and then back down. And just taking a few here on your own count. 3-part breath is really great for helping us just get deeper into our nervous system, into kind of coming into that rest and digest response. This will be a heated practice. This is a Vinyasa class. And so in a Vinyasa class, we are bringing a lot of heat into our body. And so this is just a great practice to help us just kind of come into a more restful state. We'll also end in it as well. And taking one last round here. And then whenever you're ready, we'll start to move into the next pranayama. This is called Kapalabhati. It's very much a heated breath practice. So if you're not feeling like you want to come into kind of a heated breath practice, feeling free to just come into 3-part breath, or maybe just come into your conscious breath like we did in the beginning of the practice already. So with Kapalabhati, it's very much a cleansing breath as well. So it's really helping us get ready to flow into our Vinyasa practice, which is going to be a lot of heat. And so kind of this can feel like a really good release sometimes. Oftentimes we have a lot of energy built up. And so this is a great way to kind of release it and also invite in some heat as well. So for Kapalabhati, we're going to be doing forced exhales here. And so what it's going to look like is you can place your hands on the front of your body if that's helpful for you, especially one on your belly area to feel it. And what you're going to be doing is pumping breath through this lower area. And it's going to look like this. You're going to be closing your mouth. You're going to be breathing out through your nose. So sometimes we have some stuff come out of our nose. So if you need a tissue or if you need a wipe, just knowing that that might happen because it is kind of detoxing out of our system. So sometimes stuff does come out, and just reminding yourself that's okay. So you'll just start in by inviting in a cleansing breath, inhaling and exhaling. And then the next inhale, you'll breathe into 3/4 lung capacity. And then you'll start to pump the stomach here. And it looks like this, closing the mouth. And then from here, just allowing yourself to do it as long as you feel like your body needs to do it in that round. And then you'll take a pause, take another cleansing breath, and then you can come into another round. So we'll all start by just taking that cleansing breath. So inhaling and exhaling. Next inhale, coming to 3/4 lung capacity, and then starting to come into your Kapalabhati, your breathing. And then just coming out however you need to, taking a few breaths here. And then feeling free to take one more round on your own. And then just taking a few cleansing breaths here. Just coming back to your conscious breathing. And then whenever you're ready, we'll start to move into our warm-ups. So we'll start to build up to our sun salutation practice this morning. So feeling free to come into cat-cow form here. Feeling free to maybe have a blanket underneath your knees for a little bit added support. You can take a moment to maybe just shift the hips side to side here. Maybe even inviting the palms up and down here, and just kind of finding a position here that really works for you to come into some cat-cow. So whenever you're ready, we'll start by inviting the inhale, bringing the head up, exhale, arching the back up, looking down at the mat, inhaling, coming back up, exhale, arching the back, looking down at your mat, inhaling, coming back up, and just taking a few rounds here on your own breath. We're starting to warm up the spine, the shoulders, the neck. So if you want to bring in any additional movement here, you could, maybe gently moving side to side, your head, your neck. But just listening to what your body needs this morning. So I'll give a lot of options in terms of different ways that you can come into your Vinyasa practice this morning, and just honoring whatever your body is needing this morning. If it's a more gentle practice or if it's a more heated practice. Just knowing that everyone's practice is going to look a little bit different today on the mat. And then whenever you're ready, coming back to your neutral cat-cow, we're going to invite the right leg out in front or out and back. And then you can stay here if you would like. You could also invite the left hand out in front of you. And just taking a moment here to focus on your core, kind of breathing into your core area. Your core is really going to help you throughout your Vinyasa practice. And so really breathing into this area, allowing it to help hold you and support you. And then we'll start to come into some crunches here. So inviting in the knee to the elbow, inhaling, exhaling as you release. Inhaling, coming back in, exhale, releasing, taking a few more rounds on this side. In our Vinyasa practice, it's about connecting our movement to our breath. So as important as our asanas and the movement is, connecting the inhales and the exhales into each form here to allow us to go a little bit deeper. And then whenever you're ready, taking one more, last one here, and then coming out on the exhale, just holding for a moment, and then inviting that left hand down to the mat, the right knee down to the mat. You can take a moment here to maybe shift your hips side to side. And then from here, we'll set up on the left side. So inviting that left foot out this time. You can just remain here if you did the last time. And you could just, I forgot to show you, could just move the knee in and out here. The other options to bring the right hand up this time. And taking a moment here to also just kind of find your core center, breathing into that area. And noticing if you can bring more weight even into the core rather than into the hand even. And then from here, finding your crunch in, so bringing the right elbow to the left knee, extending, exhaling, inhaling, bringing in and out, and just finding your own breath flow here. Inhaling and exhaling. Taking a few more rounds here, whichever version you choose to. And then whenever you're ready on the last one, extending out, holding for just a moment, inviting that right hand back down to the earth, left knee down to the earth, feeling free to make some movement here. And then whenever you're ready from here, starting to find your child's form, also called wisdom form. You can bring knees apart, knees together, maybe extending hands out in front of you or hands beside you. And just knowing that this form is a resting form, and at any time you get a little bit heated during the practice and you just need a break, you're always invited to come back here at any moment. And even when we go through the chaturangas and the sun salutations, if you would like to just come here to take a break, you're always invited to. Taking a few more breaths here. And then whenever you're ready, you can start to find your way into a downward facing dog. So shifting your hips back behind you. This is the first downward dog of the morning, so feeling free to make some movement with the feet here, the legs moving up and down. You can even kind of move your head side to side here. Taking a few breaths here. And then whenever you're ready, we'll lift our right leg back up behind us, coming into our splits. So just bringing that leg to the left side a little bit. Maybe making some movement with the foot here. If you just want to even bring the leg back beside you, you can. Feeling free to come over to the side and do a split. It's up to you here, what's called like a three-legged dog. And then from here, we'll start to find our way into a lunge. So inviting the right foot out in front of you. That left foot can either, the left knee can either come down if you would like. You can come into it this way. You could extend the leg up, back behind you, whichever way you would like to come into it. You can place the hands down on the ground. You can use blocks here to help you. Sometimes people like to come up and bring their hands into heart center. So whichever way you find a little support here. Taking a few deep breaths here, inhaling and exhaling. And then from here, we'll start to come into pyramid. So we'll invite that left foot up a little bit farther in front of us. And we're going to start to come down onto the right side here. So once again, a great place to have blocks. So moving that left foot, however far up feels kind of helpful and supportive here. You can invite your hands out to the blocks. You're going to start to fold over your right leg here. So you can invite your hands onto your feet, onto the mat maybe, or onto the block. Inhaling and exhaling here. Taking a few more deep breaths. And then from here, we'll invite that back, that left knee down onto the earth. We'll come into our monkey splits. So we'll invite the right leg out. We can extend the feet out if we would like. We could also bring blocks here too to help support us into this. I'm starting to just get into some warm-ups to help us before we get into our sun solace this morning. So really warming up the legs, the quads, inhaling and exhaling. And then from here, we'll start to bring that left foot back up onto the earth. We'll come into a twist here. So inviting both hands up to the sky, inviting the hands maybe to come down through heart center. We'll invite the left elbow onto the left knee here, twisting. You could feel free to maybe open the arms up, or just keeping them in heart center here. Inhaling and exhaling. Few more deep breaths here. And then whenever you're ready, lifting the hands back up to the sky. From here, we'll come into a plank, moving back into downward facing dog, and just knowing that you don't have to come into full plank. So even as we come through our vinyasas, you could even bring the knees down. You can come either into child's form, or you could come back up into downward facing dog. So just know that that is an option if you don't want to come into a full plank. Inhaling and exhaling here. We'll do the same set on the other side this time. So this time inviting that left foot up, coming into our lunge. If you want to keep the knee down on the mat, you could. Sometimes people like to bring it up. Maybe bringing hands onto hips, hands to heart center. Inhaling and exhaling here. Two more deep breaths. From here, we'll start to transition into pyramid. So allowing that left or the right foot to come up a little bit. You'll have to notice in your body how far you want to bring it up, but you want to bring it up enough so that you can be able to fold over onto the left side. However far, like even if you want to come up a little bit, you can use blocks both sides to fold over here. Inhaling and exhaling. Taking a few more deep breaths on this side. And then whenever you're ready, we'll transition into our monkey splits. So inviting that right knee to come back down onto the earth. You can use blocks again here. We'll extend the left leg out in front of. So you could even kind of move the feet here, allowing the foot to extend. You can use blocks here again to help fold over. And just folding over however far your body would like to go. So even if you're up and you're just coming down a little bit, knowing that's okay, you can bring your hands onto the earth, you can bring it onto your shins, or you can use the blocks. Inhaling and exhaling here. Two more deep breaths. And then whenever you're ready, from here, we're going to find our way back into a lunge to come into a twist here. So grounding that left foot back down onto the mat. You can invite your hands up to the sky here, bringing them through heart center. This time inviting the right elbow onto the left knee in twisting. If you would like to extend the arms open, you could. And inhaling and exhaling here. Twists are really good for detoxifying, for letting go. So taking some full inhales and exhales into this twist. Two more deep breaths on this side. And then from here, inviting the hands back up to the sky. From here, finding your hands back down to the earth, coming into either a full plank or a modified plank. And you can start to find your way back into downward facing dog. Just taking a few breaths here. So before we come into, we're going to start to move into our sun salutations. We're going to come through what are called chaturangas. We're going to be taking quite a few. And so just knowing that you have some options. So one option is to just come, we always start in a plank, but you can come down onto your knees if you would like. And then we'll find our way into downward facing dog. So just feeling free to go that way, or even just feeling free to move just all the way back into downward facing dog. You can come into a child's form at any point rather than coming through. You can use the blocks to help support you as well. And if you would just like to come into your own creative sequence even, allowing that to be this morning. So taking a moment, we're just gonna practice one breathing exercise before we come into our sun salutations. So with this breath exercise, it's very much a cooling breath exercise. Gosh, I'm losing its name. Ujjayi breath. So this is one of my favorite breath exercises, but it really does help to cool down our system. So if you're flowing through the sun cells, you're getting a little bit overheated, feeling free to come into this breath exercise. A great way to come into it, you imagine like you're fogging a mirror. So you can bring the hand out in front of you. We're going to be closing the mouth. We're going to breathe out through the nose. And it's going to feel like when you inhale and you exhale, it's going to feel like you're fogging up a mirror. So inhaling, closing the mouth, exhaling out through the nose. And you'll just be taking those kind of inhales and exhales. Imagine like you're fogging out through a mirror. And so just allowing yourself to kind of go at your own speed and your own pace for this. But knowing that that's a really great breath exercise to come into to help cool down your system internally. So using that throughout the sun cells as we come through them. So whenever you're ready, from there, we'll invite ourselves to come into a downward facing dog for a moment, just as a transition. Taking a moment to maybe move the feet up and down. Oh yeah, and another one I just want to show too is if you don't want to come all the way into the chaturangas, you also can just come down into worm and then move your way back up. So just finding any version here that you would like to really flow into today, whatever that looks like. And then whenever you're ready from here, we're going to slowly start to walk or hop to the front of the mat, slowly allowing our body to slowly move up as we start to come into our Tadasana, our mountain stance. So inviting the hands next to you, maybe palms open, grounding your feet into the earth here. Inhaling and exhaling. Just using this opportunity to connect to your breath, maybe practicing a few of the Ujjayi breath. Just feeling as it starts to cool down your system. And we'll be flowing through a few different versions of sun cells this morning. So we'll start with our sun A. So whenever you're ready, inviting the hands up to the sky, inhaling, exhaling, forward fold, maybe hands come onto mat, maybe you even have a block. Inhaling, halfway lift, exhaling, forward fold. From here, starting to move into either a full plank modified plank, however you would like, and moving into a chaturanga. So traditionally you could come into upward facing dog, arriving back into downward facing dog, or you could find your way into worm or maybe even cobra, moving back into downward facing dog. Taking a few breaths here. And then whenever you're ready, either hopping or walking to the front of your mat, arriving into halfway lift, exhaling forward fold, and then inhaling, inviting the arms all the way back up into Tadasana, inviting them to come down through heart center, arriving back at your side, taking a moment to ground yourself. We'll flow into this one 2 more times. So feeling free to allow your breath to guide you through these next ones that we flow through. So inhaling, arms up, exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift, exhaling, forward fold. From here, setting up for plank, moving into chaturanga, however you would like to flow through it. And we'll be arriving back into downward facing dog. Once you arrive here, taking a few breaths, creating any kind of movement that's helpful. And then whenever you're ready, either slowly walking or hopping to the front of the mat, arriving in halfway lift, exhaling, forward fold. And then inhaling your arms all the way back up, arriving back through Tadasana, hands through heart center, and hands back at side, grounding back into the earth. Taking a few deep breaths here. And knowing too, if you need to drink water at any time, you're always invited to, so you never need permission to do that. On the next inhale, we'll invite the arms up, exhaling, forward fold, inhaling, halfway lift, exhaling, forward fold. From here, setting up into your chaturanga, your choice. Inhaling, moving back into downward facing dog. And then whenever you're ready, slowly walking or hopping to the front of the mat. Arriving, forward fold, or sorry, halfway lift. Moving down, back into forward fold. Inhaling the arms all the way back up. Inviting the hands through heart center. Arriving back at your side, Tadasana. Taking a few moments to ground yourself here. Next, we're going to start to come into our Sun B. So for Sun B, instead of starting in Tadasana, we actually start in chair. So inviting you to bend the knees, making sure that you can see your 2 big toes. You can invite the arms out, extending out in front of you. If this is too much, you always can just bring the hands to heart center too. Taking a few deep breaths here, breathing into that core area. Exhaling, falling into a forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhaling, forward fold. From here, setting up for plank, modified plank, moving through chaturanga of your choice, or just finding your way back into downward facing dog. When you arrive in downward facing dog, we're gonna start to make our way into a warrior 1. So inviting that right foot to come back up behind us, moving in front, bending into the right knee, allowing the hands maybe to come up into traditional warrior 1. They can come to heart center. And then from here, we're going to come back down into our plank, optional chaturanga, or just finding your way into downward facing dog as we set up for warrior 1 on the left side. So whenever you do arrive, inviting that left foot up this time, coming up in front of you, the right foot behind you, grounded, inviting the arms up into warrior 1 or heart center. And then from here, making your way back down to your mat, optional chaturanga, or just finding your way into downward facing dog or a child's form, whatever you need. Taking a few breaths here. And then whenever you're ready, we'll start to walk or hop to the front of the mat, arriving in our halfway lift, exhaling, forward fold. And then from here, we'll come back into our chair. So bending our knees, inviting the hands out in front of us, holding for just a moment, exhaling, bringing our hands back to our side, arriving back into Tadasana. So feeling free to take a few breaths here. If you need to drink some water, feeling free to. So we'll flow into this 2 more times. So feeling free to go at your own speed, your own pace here. If you want to cut out some chaturangas, you're always invited to. So whenever you're ready, we'll start in chair again. So bending our knees, inviting the hands out in front of us, holding for just a moment, exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift, exhaling, forward fold, setting ourselves up for plank, flowing into a chaturanga, arriving in downward facing dog. And then setting up for warrior one, inviting that right foot up, back behind us, finding your way into warrior one, grounding, holding for just a moment, then exhaling, inviting the hands back down onto the mat. Optional chaturanga, finding your way back into downward facing dog. And then whenever you're ready, we'll set up for warrior one on the left side. So this time inviting that left foot up, inviting it in front of us to find our warrior one on this side. Then exhaling, hands back down to the mat. Optional chaturanga, or maybe just finding your way back into downward facing dog. And then whenever you're ready from here, slowly walking or hopping to the front of the mat. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhaling, forward fold. From here, inviting a bend in the knees to come into your chair. And then exhaling, arriving back to Tadasana, mountain, hands at your side, taking a moment to come back to your breath. So we'll flow into this one more time. So inviting to come back into chair, bending the knees, letting the hands up, exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift, exhaling, forward fold. Finding your way into plank, maybe flowing through a chaturanga, just finding your way back into downward facing dog. And then finding your way into warrior one, lifting that right foot. Driving the hands up, exhaling, finding your way back down to chaturanga. And then whenever you're ready, you can invite the left foot up this time, coming into warrior one on the left side. And then at your own speed and your own pace, moving back down into plank, finding your way into a chaturanga. Taking a few breaths here. And then whenever you're ready, slowly walking or hopping to the front of the mat, arriving in your halfway lift, exhaling, forward fold. From here, arriving back into your chair, holding for just a moment, exhaling, arriving back to Tadasana, hands at your side. And feeling free to create any kind of movement here. If you want to maybe move side to side, just noticing kind of the heat that has been building in your body. And creating just any kind of creative movement here that's helpful to kind of release, let go, continue to open and expand. Is there anything you all would really like me to go in today and to practice at all, or?
Are we doing our teaching today?
Yeah.
Whatever section.
You want to do that? Okay. Yeah, so Satya did the balance yesterday, right? Balance. So I was thinking we would go into after that. Actually, let's just take a moment to come into child's form. So just taking a moment, or any type of resting form that feels helpful and supportive here. Just taking a moment to connect back to your breath. We'll get into a little bit of core work after this. So just taking a moment to just kind of pause and rest. Taking a few more deep breaths here. And then whenever you're ready, slowly starting to make your way back into a tabletop form. So we're going to move into some plank exercises here. So if you just want to come into, you can just come into this way. This is just considered modified plank. You don't have to come into the full form. So just allowing your body to take you where it wants. Also, if you are feeling a lot of pressure on your wrist, especially in planks, because we can feel that, you can feel free to bring some blocks here to help support you as well, because we don't want to be putting too much pressure on the wrist. So blocks can be a nice way to kind of help alleviate that pressure. Sometimes it just gives us a little bit more, it just helps us bring into a better form when we come into plank. So if you just want to come into modified plank, staying here. Otherwise, you could come into full plank. So stacking our elbows or our hands below our elbows here, we want to make sure that we aren't like kind of slunching our back. So making sure that we're having a straight back, even if we're in modified plank as well. And really engaging our core here. So our core is what's going to help us keep balanced in this form here. So breathing into that core area, inhaling and exhaling. I'm going to stay here for just a few more breaths. So really engaging that solar plexus energy. This is our empowerment center. Inhaling and exhaling. And then whenever you're ready, just releasing, if you were in full plank, releasing your knees back down to the mat. Feeling free to create some movement here, side to side. From here, we're going to start to move into some side planks. So once again, you can come into it in a modified way. You don't have to come into it in the full form. So let's see. If we want to come into the modified way, you're going to extend that right leg out behind you. The right arm comes up to the sky here. You're going to keep that left knee down. So you could come into it this way. If you want to come into the full form, you're going to extend the other leg out in front of you, extending that right leg up. Inhaling and exhaling. Another option here is you could bring the right foot up to the sky here. You might feel your body shaking a little bit, and just remembering that that's just your body releasing tension here. By inhaling and exhaling, staying here for a few more breaths. And then whenever you're ready, inviting that right hand down to the mat, left knee down to the earth, feeling free to make a little bit of movement here before we transition on to the left side. So starting to come into side plank on the left side. This time you can invite that left foot out this time, the left arm up, and come into side plank this way and just stay here. You can also invite a block underneath the right hand just for a little wrist support, or even a blanket. If you want to come into the full form, extending that right foot back behind you. And then you could even bring that left foot up for a little bit more of a balance challenge. And just knowing if you come out of it, just coming back into it really mindfully, utilizing your breath here, inhaling and exhaling, breathing into that core center area. Few more deep breaths on this side. You can do it, engaging that solar plexus energy. And then inviting that right hand or that left hand back down to the mat, left knee, feeling free to make some movement here. Inhaling and exhaling. From here, we're going to start to move into a squat form. So you can do it coming into standing if you would like, coming into squat form, bringing the hips down, or you can just come into it from seated as well. So just noticing if you want to come to it a little bit higher up, bringing the hands into heart center, maybe coming down on into more of a squat here. You also could bring a block underneath you for a little bit more support here. So whichever way you would like to come into it, inviting the elbows inside the knees here. This is just helping to open the hips up here. So you can kind of feel a little bit of pressure. So if you want to make a little movement, moving side to side, you could. You could bring the hands onto the earth, moving side to side. We're going to start to set up for crow. So crow is a really nice balancing form. And so one way we can get into crow is coming in a little bit lower. We can also come into it a little bit higher. So I'll show both versions here of how we're getting into it. And you can just play around here as well. If you want to bring a blanket in front of you, because you might fall out of it, and that's okay. Sometimes it's nice to have a blanket there just to support you in case you do fall. So with coming into it in a lower position here, you'll invite the hands onto the earth here. You'll lift the back up just a little bit, just enough so that you can get the elbows onto the knees here. And from here, you'll just start to invite one foot up and the other foot up. And just kind of playing around with that. And then eventually, both feet are going to come back up behind you. And really, this is a lot of core engagement. So allowing even the core to kind of be that center that you really focus and you breathe into. To come into it in a higher form, people who are a little bit taller, have longer arms, tend to like it this way a little bit more. Inviting the hands down almost into like a forward fold form here. And then inviting the knees to come onto the elbows and then lifting the feet up this way. So just kind of playing around, noticing what works for you in terms of getting in and out. And just starting by lifting one foot and the other foot. And when you are in it, it's really helpful as well to find a drishti point to focus and concentrate on. Usually either on your mat or on the ground to help you bring your whole focus and channel all your energy into coming into it. So inhaling and exhaling here. Then whenever you're ready, whenever you want to come out of it, just coming back into that squat form here just for a moment. Feeling free to make some movement here. Can use that block to help support you here. And then from here, we'll just take a moment to rest. So just finding your way into a child's form again, or any kind of resting form, even if you just want to do it seated. Just taking the opportunity to connect back to your breath. Just used a lot of core energy. Inhaling and exhaling. And then wherever you're at, starting to find your way back into downward facing dog. Just a brief transition here. We're just going to come into one hip opener here. So one option is to come into pigeon. So to come into pigeon, you can lift that right foot back behind you, inviting it up in front, extending the left leg back behind you. You could start seated up. You can invite the elbows down onto the ground. You can invite the hands out in front of you. If this just feels like too much today, you can come onto your back, coming into figure four, inviting that right foot onto the left knee. Or you could even come into butterfly, so inviting the soles of the feet together. Inhaling and exhaling here. Maybe bringing a block underneath your right hip here for a little bit of additional support, or even a blanket. The hips are an area that we carry a lot of stress and tension. So sometimes it can feel a little bit intense as we come into it. So really just inviting in the breath to help kind of open and expand this area, allowing it to soften a little bit more on each exhale. Maybe even taking a moment to come back to your intention that you might have set at the beginning of the practice. Taking a few more deep breaths on this side. And And then whenever you're ready, if you're in a lower form of that pigeon, inviting the hands back up, inviting your front body to come back up. From here, making your way back into downward facing dog, feeling free to make some circles with the right foot. You can move the legs up and down here. And then whenever you're ready on your own time, we'll come on to it on the left side. So if you came into pigeon on the right side, lifting that left foot, inviting it up in front of you, extending the right foot back behind you, coming into any version that you're feeling called to on this side. If you came into figure four, just switching legs, this time inviting the left leg to come on the right knee. And noticing if this side feels a little bit different than the right side. Oftentimes, or just sometimes, our sides feel a little bit different. Our right side represents our masculine energy, and our left side represents our feminine energy. Inhaling and exhaling here, allowing your hips to soften a little bit more on each breath. Taking a few more deep breaths on this side. And then whenever you're ready, whichever form you're in, starting to make your way out of it slowly. If you were in pigeon, maybe coming back into downward facing dog, you can invite some circles into the left foot this time, moving the feet up and down. And then whenever you're ready, from here, we're going to start to make our way onto our backs. So maybe hugging the knees in, rocking the back side to side here, giving your spine a little bit of a massage. From here, we'll start to come into, or I'll invite you into happy baby, if that feels good in your body. So you can maybe touch the two big toes. You can invite the hands onto the outer sides of the foot here, and you'll extend the feet up, and then allowing them to just come out however far you would like. You could still kind of rock side to side here. Inhaling and exhaling.
This is the time to come on. So hold your fire.
And then from here, we're going to start to wind down a little bit. So if you would like to come into a twist, maybe butterfly form before you come into your savasana, inviting in any kind of movement here that feels helpful and supportive for you, that you feel like your body just kind of needs to get into before you come into final savasana. If you would like to just make your way into it now, you could. Just really taking time to set yourself up here and whatever you're needing to get any remaining energy out so that you can come into that final relaxation and just allow your body to rest.
Now I'm alive behind the scenes. Now I'm the wolf that's left behind. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
And then when you're ready, you can start to set yourself up for Savasana any way you would like. If you're inside right now and you would like to come to a wall, maybe do legs up the wall, you could. If you want to remain maybe in butterfly, having like a hip opener in the Savasana, you could. Or just extending the legs out in front of you, inviting the hands to the side, coming into maybe just a traditional Savasana form. Feeling the earth underneath you, allowing her to hold and support you as you just simply rest. You've done all the hard work. And now just allowing this opportunity to just be with yourself on your mat. Maybe coming back to the intention that you set at the beginning of class. Placing this maybe in your heart center, maybe your third eye. And just allowing the remainder of this class to allow you to just be in silence. And I'll let you know when it's time to come up, but just enjoying this moment of silence and solitude and gratitude with yourself here on your mat. So starting to come back into your body, back into the space. Maybe wiggling your toes or your fingers. Just inviting in some gentle light sensation here. Maybe even inviting a big stretch underneath the head, lengthening, expanding the body. Just taking your time here to come back into awareness, coming back into the space that you're in today. And feeling free to start to move yourself onto your side. This just represents our transition as we move into the rebirth of our practice. Just taking a moment to pause here. And then whenever you're ready, maybe starting to move your way back up into a seated form as we start to close out the practice this morning. You can feel free to keep your eyes closed. You can lightly keep them open, maybe just gazing down at a point. But wherever you're at, taking a moment to just connect with your heart space, your heart chakra, maybe inviting your thumbs pressing in into kind of a prayer form, or just inviting one or both hands onto your heart space. Taking a moment to come back to maybe the collective intention of active listening, or maybe the intention, that personal intention that you set for yourself this morning. Just allowing the intention energy to help move you throughout the rest of your morning and your day. Love and light in me honors and recognizes love and light in each and every one of you. Namaste.